chosen one. Why are you still breathing? No, seriously. Stop scrolling for just 10 seconds and ask yourself that question. Why are you still here? That divorce should have destroyed you. That diagnosis should have buried you. That betrayal, the one that cut so deep you couldn't even speak its name out loud, that should have been your end. But you're still standing, still watching, still believing when everything in your life screamed give up. Heaven calls that the impossible. And tonight, right now, in this very moment, God Himself is pulling back the veil and whispering something over your life that will shatter every lie you've believed about rest. Because here's the truth they never told you in church. Rest is not weakness. Rest is reward. This is not coincidence. This is God. You didn't stumble onto this message while scrolling through cat videos and news clips. No. The Spirit of the living God interrupted your timeline, stopped your thumb mid-scroll and said, "This one, right now, they need to hear this. I need you to do something for me, not for me, but for your own soul." If you feel in the deepest part of your spirit that this word is for you, type Amen in the comments right now. Let heaven and earth witness your agreement. Let the angels see that you're not just watching, you're receiving. Before we go any further, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your support, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and sow that seed of faith. God sees, God remembers, and God rewards. Now listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will explain why you've been so tired lately, why sleep doesn't restore you anymore, why you wake up at 3 a.m. feeling like you're carrying a 1,000-pound weight on your chest. You've been fighting battles that weren't yours to fight, carrying burdens God never asked you to carry. And tonight, He's saying, enough. You've proven yourself. You've walked through fire. You've done the impossible. Now, rest. Stay with me. Don't you dare click away. Because before this message ends, you'll understand why the God who parted seas, raised the dead, and turned water into wine is now looking at you, yes, you, and declaring, "Rest, my child. The battle is already won." This is your moment. Why are you awake at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling? Why does your chest tighten when you walk past their empty chair? Why does every bill feel like a mountain you're climbing alone? I know where you are right now. I see you sitting in that kitchen where you used to hear laughter, but now there's only silence. I see you at that table where you once gathered with the ones you loved, but now you eat alone. I see you in that doctor's waiting room, holding test results in trembling hands, wondering how much time you have left. You've carried weights that would have crushed others. You buried your husband of 43 years and somehow found the strength to keep breathing. You watched your daughter walk away and never come back, and somehow your heart didn't stop beating. You opened that envelope that said past due for the 6th time this year, and somehow you didn't break. You've buried dreams that once made your eyes shine. You've buried friends who swore they'd grow old with you. You've buried pieces of yourself in graves that no one else will ever visit. And yet, you're still standing. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deeper than any sermon you've ever heard. Why didn't that cancer kill you when the doctors gave you 6 months? Why didn't that heart attack finish what it started? Why didn't that depression, the kind that makes you stare at pill bottles and wonder if anyone would even notice, why didn't it win? Why are you still here? The world would call it luck. Doctors would call it a medical anomaly. Your family might call it stubbornness. But heaven has a different name for it. Supernatural preservation. Because that survival was not human. That endurance was not willpower. That strength was not yours. That was divine. Listen to me carefully, because I'm about to tell you something that will explain every impossible thing you've walked through. Psalm 91:15 says, "He will call on me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him." You didn't make it this far on your own. You were carried. When your legs gave out, invisible hands held you up. When your faith flickered like a dying candle, the breath of God kept it burning. When you wanted to quit and, oh, you wanted to quit so many times, something inside you whispered, "Not yet. Not yet." That wasn't your voice. That was his. You think you're tired because you're old. But the truth is deeper and more sacred than that. You're tired because you've been fighting battles that weren't designed for human strength. You've been carrying burdens that only divine shoulders were meant to bear. You've been walking through valleys that were supposed to be your grave. But God had other plans. And now he's saying something that's going to change everything about how you see your next chapter. You've done the impossible. Now, rest. But what does that mean? How do you rest when the bills don't stop coming? How do you rest when your body aches and your heart still grieves? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will show you that the rest God offers isn't what you think it is. Let's stop right here and break this down. Because if you don't understand what the impossible actually is, you'll miss why heaven is applauding you right now. The impossible is not just difficult. It's not just challenging. The impossible is what your education couldn't fix, what your bank account couldn't buy, what your connections couldn't open, what your willpower couldn't sustain. The impossible is when every door slams shut, every option evaporates, and every logical solution laughs in your face. It's the wall so high you can't climb it, the ocean so wide you can't cross it, the weight so crushing you can't carry it. The impossible is when, unless God himself steps in, nothing, and I mean nothing, will shift. Think about Abraham and Sarah, 90 years old and 100 years old. Their bodies were ancient. Sarah's womb was dead. Logic said, impossible. Medicine said, impossible. Biology screamed, impossible. But Genesis 18:14 thunders back, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" And Isaac was born. The impossible became a baby's cry in the tent of two people the world had written off. Think about the children of Israel standing at the edge of the Red Sea. Pharaoh's army closing in from behind, mountains trapping them on both sides, water blocking their future. No boats, no bridge, no escape route. Exodus 14:3. Moses didn't panic. He declared, "Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today." And God split the sea. The impossible became a highway through water. Think about David, a teenage shepherd boy with 5 smooth stones and a sling, staring up at a 9-foot giant covered in armor, mocking the living God. Every soldier in Israel's army was paralyzed with fear. But David ran toward Goliath. 1 stone, 1 shot, 1 dead giant. 1 Samuel 17:47. It is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's. The impossible became a testimony that still echoes 3,000 years later. Now look at yourself. That cancer they said would kill you, you're still here. That bankruptcy that should have left you homeless, you're still standing. That depression so dark you couldn't see tomorrow, you made it to today. That marriage that was 6 inches from divorce, you're still fighting for it. That addiction that had you by the throat for 20 years, you broke free. You want to know what the impossible is? The impossible is you, still breathing, still believing, still trusting God, when every circumstance told you to curse him and die. The very fact that you're sitting here right now watching this message, hearing these words, feeling this fire rising in your chest, that is proof, undeniable proof, that you have already walked through what should have killed you. You didn't survive on talent, you survived on grace. You didn't make it through on luck, you made it through on the supernatural power of a God who refuses to let his chosen ones perish in the pit. If that truth just hit you like lightning, if something in your spirit is screaming, "Yes, that's me," hit the like button right now. Not for me, but as your yes, Lord, to heaven. Let the algorithm become an altar. Let your click become a declaration that you recognize the impossible didn't destroy you, it revealed you. But here's where it gets even deeper. Here's the part that will explain why you're so exhausted. You know what breaks my heart? It's watching God's chosen ones, 70, 80, 90 years old, still striving like they're 25, still pushing, still grinding, still begging God for what He already promised you 40 years ago. Listen to me carefully, beloved. You don't need to fight for every inch anymore. The ground is already yours. I'm talking to the grandmother who's been interceding for her grandchildren for 3 decades. The grandfather who's been tithing faithfully since 1965, even when the bills screamed louder than his faith. The widow who's been serving in that church kitchen for 50 years while everyone else got the pulpit. You, I'm talking to you. You've been operating like a soldier in combat, hyper-vigilant, always on guard, never sleeping deeply because you think the moment you rest, the enemy will strike. But here's the revelation that will shatter that lie. Rest is not retreating. Rest is reigning. Hebrews 4:9-10 declares with thunder, "There remains then a Sabbath, rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from their works, just as God did from His." Did you catch that? Just as God did from His. When the Creator of the universe finished forming galaxies and breathing life into dust, He didn't collapse from exhaustion. He rested because the work was complete. He surveyed what His hands had made and declared, "It is good." That rest wasn't weakness, it was authority. And now, right now, Jesus Himself is standing before you, looking into your tired eyes and saying what He said in Matthew 11:28. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Not tomorrow, not after one more battle. Now. But here's where most believers miss it entirely. They think rest means quitting. They think rest means giving up on their prayers, their promises, their purpose. No, rest does not mean passivity. It means God now carries what you cannot. Rest is not quitting, it is winning. You've been carrying burdens God never asked you to carry. You've been striving for approval you already have. You've been fighting for provision that's already been released. And tonight, the Father is saying, "Child, put it down. I've got this." What would your life look like if you woke up tomorrow without the weight? What if you could breathe deeply for the first time in 30 years? What if peace wasn't something you chased, but something you lived in? That's the rest God is offering you. Not retirement from purpose, but alignment with His power. If you're ready, if something in your spirit is breaking free right now, comment, "Rest is my reward" in the chat. Let heaven record your declaration. Let the enemy hear your surrender to God's sufficiency. Because what I'm about to show you next will reveal exactly what happens when you stop striving and start receiving. The floodgates are about to open, but first you need to understand why God chose this moment, this specific hour, to release you into rest. Let me tell you about Margaret, 78 years old, lives alone in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens. Her children? They don't call anymore. Thanksgiving came and went last year. No visit, no text, just silence. Christmas morning, she sat at her kitchen table with one plate, one cup of coffee, staring at photos of grandchildren she's never met. But every single morning at 5 a.m., Margaret gets on her knees, arthritic knees that crack and ache, and she prays for children who forgot her name. That's not weakness. That's warfare. Now let me tell you about Robert, 82, worked 43 years at the same steel mill in Pittsburgh, saved every penny, built a retirement fund of $340,000. Then 2008 hit. The market crashed. His broker vanished. His savings, gone. All of it. He's back to work at 82, bagging groceries at a supermarket where kids half his age call him Pops like it's charity. But every night before bed, Robert opens his worn Bible to Psalm 23 and whispers, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." That's not delusion, that's declaration. You see, the world looks at people like Margaret and Robert and sees expiration dates. God looks at them and sees activation dates. Because here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Your age is not your limitation, it's your qualification. Moses was 80 years old when God called him from a burning bush. 80. The world would have given him a gold watch and a rocking chair. But God handed him a staff and said, "Now you're ready. Now you've been broken enough to be trusted. Now you've lived long enough to lead." Sarah was 90 when she held Isaac in her arms. 90. Her womb was dead. Logic said impossible. Science said ridiculous. But God said, "Watch what I do with what you thought was finished." Anna the prophetess was 84 years old when she recognized baby Jesus in the temple. 84 years of waiting, decades of fasting and praying, while younger prophets got the spotlight. But when the Messiah walked through those doors, it wasn't the young who saw him first. It was Anna. Because she had eyes that had been trained by time, sharpened by suffering, and refined by faithfulness. What if everything you've survived wasn't punishment? What if it was preparation? What if every betrayal taught you discernment? Every financial loss taught you dependence? Every sleepless night taught you how to intercede? What if God didn't keep you alive this long to fade quietly into some nursing home where people speak to you like you're a child? He kept you because your wisdom is your weapon, your scars are your signature, your survival is your sermon. The younger generation is drowning in noise, but they're starving for truth. And truth doesn't come from podcasts and TikTok videos. Truth comes from people who've walked through fire and came out still praising God. So let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. How much longer are you going to let the world convince you that your best days are behind you? Because God is saying something completely different. Listen to me, chosen one. What I'm about to speak over your life is not suggestion. It's not motivational fluff. This is prophetic declaration straight from the throne room of heaven. And you need to hear it with every fiber of your being. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of your overflow. You've been living like you're running out of time. Like God's grace has an expiration date. Like if you don't hustle harder, pray louder, fight fiercer, somehow you'll miss what He promised you. But that's the lie that's been stealing your peace for decades. That's the whisper from hell that's kept you exhausted, depleted, and one breath away from collapse. Rest breaks anxiety. Rest silences shame. Rest is your inheritance. Do you hear me? Rest is not something you earn. It's something you inherit. Just like a trust fund passes from father to son, God is passing His rest to you right now. Not because you've been perfect, not because you've finally done enough, but because you're His child, and children don't work for inheritance, they receive it. But here's where the enemy has twisted everything. He's convinced you that rest equals laziness. That stillness means you're giving up, that if you're not striving, you're dying. And so you've spent 70, 80, maybe 90 years running on fumes, believing that your worth is measured by your output. Let me shatter that lie right now. God never called you to burnout. He called you to breakthrough. And breakthrough doesn't come from exhaustion. It comes from trust. Think about the Israelites at the Red Sea. They were trapped. Pharaoh's army behind them. Water in front of them. No escape. Logic said they were finished. But Exodus 14:14 records what Moses told them. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Be still. Not hustle, not panic, not figure it out. Be still. And what happened? God parted the sea. He didn't need their strategy. He didn't need their strength. He needed their stillness. Because when you stop fighting in your flesh, God starts fighting in His power. Now apply that to your life right now. What Red Sea are you staring at? What impossible situation has you convinced that unless you figure it out, God won't move? That financial crisis, that broken relationship, that health diagnosis that keeps you up at night, that family member who's wandered so far from God you've almost given up hope. Here's what heaven is saying to you today. Stop trying to part your own seas. Your job is not to figure out how God will do it. Your job is to stand still and watch Him work. Rest is not the absence of war. It is the presence of God's victory wrapped around you. Do you feel that? That shift in the atmosphere? That's not emotion. That's confirmation. The Spirit of God is bearing witness with your spirit right now that this word is for you. That every battle you've fought, every tear you've cried, every night you didn't think you'd make it through it, was all leading to this moment. The moment when God says, enough. You've proven yourself. Now let me prove myself to you. Jesus said in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Not might give, not could give, will give. That's a promise. That's a guarantee. And God doesn't lie. But here's the urgency. Here's why this moment matters more than any other message you've heard. The enemy knows what happens when God's chosen ones step into divine rest. They stop operating in fear and start walking in authority. They stop begging for what's already theirs and start commanding what must bow. They stop surviving and start thriving. And hell cannot afford for you to rest, because rested believers are dangerous believers. If you're stepping into that victory, type, "I enter my rest now." Don't just read this, declare it. Let this be your covenant moment. Let heaven record that on this day, at this hour, you said yes to God's rest. Because what comes next will require you to be fully restored, fully rested, and fully ready for the overflow that's about to flood your life. Chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred moment together, I need you to carry 3 eternal truths with you when you leave this place. First, you are not broken beyond repair. You are being rebuilt by the Master's hands. Every tear, every trial, every impossible situation you survived, it was all preparation for the rest God is giving you now. Second, rest is not weakness. It is divine reward. It is God Himself saying, "You've done enough. Now let me do what only I can do. Stop carrying what you were never meant to carry." And third, this rest is not passive. It is powerful. It positions you for overflow, for breakthrough, for miracles you stopped believing could happen. When you rest in God, you don't stop moving, you start flowing. But I need you to hear something deeper than these words. You are not walking this journey alone. Right now, in this very moment, the God who created galaxies with a whisper is working in your life. He's closing doors that would harm you. He's opening doors no man can shut. He's fighting battles you don't even see. And He cannot abandon you now. Beyond that, you have a family here. Look at these comments. See these hearts connecting. You've found your tribe. This isn't just a YouTube channel. This is a community of warriors who understand your struggle, who believe in your breakthrough, and who will stand with you in prayer. So let me ask you this one final question, and let it settle deep in your spirit. What would your life look like if you finally believed that God's got you? If you stopped striving and started trusting? If you let rest become your secret weapon? Before you go, I need you to do something. Comment below and tell us what God spoke to your heart today. Share your breakthrough. Ask for prayer. And please share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's exhausted. Someone who thinks they're alone. Someone who forgot that rest is their inheritance too. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Because we're building something powerful here, a movement of chosen ones who refuse to quit, who choose to rest, and who walk in the authority God gave them. Thank you for staying with me through this entire message. Thank you for opening your heart. Thank you for believing that even now, God is not done with you. Now, let me pray over you. Wherever you are in your living room, your bedroom, your car, place your hand on your heart and receive this blessing. Almighty Father, I come before you now carrying every person who has heard this word. Lord, they are tired, bone tired, soul tired, the kind of tired that sleep can't fix. But you, O God, are the great restorer. You are the lifter of heads. You are the breath in exhausted lungs. Right now, I speak rest over their minds. Silence the voices of fear, doubt, and condemnation. Let their thoughts align with your truth. Let them sleep peacefully tonight without the weight of tomorrow crushing their chest. I speak rest over their bodies. Where there is pain, release healing. Where there is sickness, command wholeness. Where there is exhaustion, pour fresh strength. Let them wake up tomorrow feeling lighter than they've felt in years. I speak rest over their finances. Open doors of provision they didn't even know existed. Send divine connections. Release unexpected blessings. Let them stop worrying about money and start witnessing your abundance. I speak rest over their families. Heal broken relationships. Restore prodigal children. Mend marriages that feel beyond repair. Let peace return to homes that have known only chaos. Father, bless those who have sown into this ministry with generosity. Multiply their seed. Protect their households. Let favor follow them everywhere they go. And for those who couldn't give but stayed until the end, bless them anyway because you see the intention of their hearts. Most of all, Lord, let them feel you. Not just know about you, but encounter you. Let them sense your hand on their shoulder, your whisper in their ear, your peace wrapping around them like a warm blanket on a cold night. We declare that the season of striving is over. The season of rest has begun, and nothing in hell or on earth can stop what you've already set in motion. In the mighty, matchless, all-powerful name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Now go in peace, chosen one. Walk in rest, and remember the battle is already won.